call the Board of Education for Wednesday, September 7th to order. Mr. Aho, will you call the roll, please?
Mr. Felber?
Here.
Mr. Solera?
Here.
Mr. Curtis?
Here.
Mrs. Davis?
Here.
Mrs. Terrell Waldron?
Here.
We are all present. Now, if you could please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'm not aware of any changes to the agenda. I know we're all waiting patiently for that clock to strike 7, just like the clocks at school. You might move on school time. But again, good evening and welcome to the students, staff, and families of Samuel Bissell and R.B. Chamberlain Middle School. This is the meeting of the Board of Education for September 7th, 2016. I'm Rob Felber. I'm honored to be your president. It's hard to imagine that another school year is underway. And as we look out, the students were reminded just why we are here and the value of the entire district's hard work. And speaking of hard work, your board and administrative team recently met in a work session to draft goals for the 2016-2017 school year. The goals in student growth, financial, community relations, and facilities and grounds are on tonight's agenda. All the goals this year take the theme of student-centered. These goals are the blueprint for the entire district, and I feel it is important to read each of the goals that are going to be presented tonight on our agenda. Student growth. The Twinsburg City School District will be student-centered by developing the whole child through the implementation of a focused curriculum, community partnerships, and high-quality professional development. Financial. The Twinsburg City School District will be student-centered and support student learning and safety by continuing to maintain fiscal integrity, transparency, and accountability of the district's financial resources by implementation of the benchmarks identified on the financial strategic planning flowchart. Community relations. The Twinsburg City School District will be student-centered through active communications and engagement with our community to provide opportunities to support student growth and development. And finally, facilities and grounds. The Twinsburg City School District will be student-centered in its efforts to address and balance our facilities' immediate and long-term needs, utilizing our current facilities assessment to support student growth and development. We also have tonight 2 administrative reports, one from our food service supervisor and our Director of Pupil Services. These reports are very important in keeping you, our district, informed of all the activities and procedures in the district's numerous departments. I encourage you to stay or maybe at least tune back into Cable 9 during the rebroadcast of this and all school board meetings. And with that, I will turn the meeting over to our superintendent for the superintendent's report.
Good evening, Mr. Felber. Good evening, Board of Education. It is so great to see the kids back at our board meeting. We've missed you all summer. It has been a fast summer, and we're so delighted that you're back in school and you're back at our board meetings because we like to celebrate our students, and that's the most important thing that we do here in our district is to celebrate the success of all of our students. So welcome back, parents. Glad that you're here this evening. And students, thank you so very much for giving up a little bit of your evening tonight to join us for a pretty important presentation about you, and we're going to get to that in a few minutes. As Mr. Felber indicated on tonight's board agenda, we have our 2016-2017 district goals, and Mrs. Farbing is going to call up a graphic that I hope will help everyone understand how these goals fit together. There it is. And so the Board of Education has identified 4 areas for which our goals will be this year. Our student growth, and you heard Mr. Felber indicate that student-centered is the theme to all of these goals. So the first is our student growth theme that talks about our programs and all of the things that make our students a success, making sure we have professional development for our staff and building great partnerships with our parents and our community members. Then, of course, the financial goal, and the board's intent is that we have fiscal integrity, that we have transparency, that's a continuation of transparency, and that we are accountable to be good stewards of our taxpayers' money that supports our school district. Third is community relations and all the things that we have in place as far as support and partnerships. And this evening you're going to hear a report from Beachbrook, one of our partners, about a program that we have in our school district that was extremely successful last year, and we look forward to a continuing partnership with them in the new year. And then finally, our facilities and grounds. You'll be hearing quite a bit about our facilities and grounds, not only tonight, but throughout the school year. At the end of last year and through the summer, you might have heard that we had a facilities assessment completed, and we have some work to do regarding that facilities assessment, and that will be conversation amongst our residents here in this school year, probably the second part of the year, once we take care of some financial concerns that are on the front end of this conversation. So you'll be seeing that logo used on our district publications once the Board of Education obviously has to approve the goals this evening. But we wanted to commit our goals to something that was appealing to the eye, and it wasn't too many words, and really tells the whole story of what our roadmap is for success in this school year of 16-17. So we appreciate those staff members that work behind the scenes in creating that. Looks great, and I think it tells the story of what our goals are for this year. As noted in the financial goal that Mr. Felber just read, last school year, one of the goals was the creation of a financial strategic planning flow chart. And now the Board of Education has put me to the task of engaging our community in focus groups to talk about these levy renewal cycles that will soon be conversation in our community, as well as a potential new money issue. And so Mrs. Farthing is going to show that we have 4 community engagement focus group meetings planned for our residents and our parents. The first will be Wednesday, September 14th at 6:30 over at our high school in the large group instruction room. The second is Monday, October 10th. That happens to be Columbus Day, and I know that many of our parents may have the day off work. So if you have the day off work and you are interested in being a part of this focus group, that is going to be at 9:30 at our public library, the Twinsburg Public Library. Then there's the third opportunity on Wednesday, October 26th at 6:30. This time we'll go over to Samuel Bissell Elementary School in their large group room. And then finally, rounding out the 4 meetings will be on Thursday, October 27th at 6:30, and that one will be in the Media Center at our middle school at RBC. So we invite all of our parents and residents to give my office a call. The number is there. We'll have it posted on the website tomorrow if you would like to participate. And the reason we're asking you to let us know ahead of time is so that we have enough facilitators ready, enough seats for everyone. And the conversation here will be around the district's financial picture, talking about the renewal levies and a potential new money issue. And that has to do a lot with this tangible personal property issue we've been talking about for many years. And the fact that in 2023, the district is going to lose that revenue stream. $4.6 million will be lost when that money goes away in 2023, and we have to figure out what we want to do about that. So I encourage you, please, residents and family members, to think about one of those opportunities. If you're able to join us, that would be great. And the Board of Education has put me to the task of, by the end of October, Halloween is the deadline, that I need to be able to report back to them the findings, all the feedback that we'll be gathering from our residents and community members about this very important topic. Again, we'll have these dates posted tomorrow on the website for anyone who is interested in knowing what they are. Board of Education, some exciting news to share with you. Last week we heard that the district is a recipient of a $30,000 grant from the GAR Foundation. This is the 3rd year in a row that our school district will be able to participate in this great opportunity. The GAR Foundation, in partnership with the SMART Consortium and WVIZ Idea Stream, will be providing professional development at RBC and Dodge about STEM-related instructional practices in mathematics and science. So we're very excited about that opportunity. And then the second opportunity that we heard about just last week is that through our consortium with the Summit Education Initiative, the Martha Holden Jennings Foundation has granted a renewal of SEI's funds, and that means that our teachers at Wilcox and Bissell will be able to continue the partnership in something called the 3rd grade Reading Action Team. It's all about early literacy and providing professional development for our staff, but then there's also a parent engagement piece related to this grant opportunity. So we're very grateful to Summit Education Initiative and the Martha Holden Jennings Foundation for their continued support of our school district. It goes back to that community relations goal and having these wonderful partnerships that support the work that happens here with our kids every day. Board of Education, as you know, our quality profile is now in its final stage. It is now at the print shop, and it will be printed the next couple of days. It will be in the Twinsburg Bulletin on September 21st as an insert, and we'll post it on the website as soon as it is finished. The quality profile is a great document. It tells the whole story about the Twinsburg City School District during the 2015-16 school year. It talks about the value of an education in our school district. Every school is noted. Every school principal has provided great feedback in the quality profile. I think you'll be very pleased at the depth and breadth of programming that we have here for our students. We have some challenges too, but we are very much in celebration of all the great things that happen in our school district. I hope you enjoy reading the quality profile when you receive it in your Twinsburg Bulletin in the September 21st edition. And again, you'll be able to catch it on our website. Board of Education, we talked a little bit about community partnerships, and I want to just share something very important this evening with you. Last week, I was invited to a very important forum over at Aurora High School, and it was hosted by the Department of Justice and the DEA and the FBI. And the conversation was about the national epidemic regarding opioids. You know that in our state, in our county, if you read the Akron Beacon Journal, it seems every day they're talking about heroin addiction and what a huge problem this is in our community, and actually it's a national issue. And so we were asked by the Department of Justice, FBI, and the DEA to become involved in their interest in providing information to our parents and our residents. And we're very delighted that we heard earlier today that on Monday, October 17th, we're going to be holding a parent forum that will be facilitated by representatives from the U.S. Department of Justice and the FBI. And the topic for our parents is about this epidemic that they believe is in its infancy stage. Can you imagine? They're saying that this is one of the largest epidemics that the nation has ever experienced, and it's still in its infancy stage. And they're looking towards school districts to provide education and to provide information to our residents. So the parent forum will be, again, on Monday, October 17th at 7 o'clock. It will be at Twinsburg High School. And this is a very important conversation, not just for our parents, but for residents. What we heard in our meeting last week is that painkillers, such as OxyContin, are becoming the gatekeepers for heroin addiction. And so what happens is individuals are getting addicted to painkillers, and soon that's not enough. And then they go on to the world of heroin addiction, and that is a terrible thing to do. And so they're asking us to join with them in a partnership. We're happy to do that, and I think this is going to be a critically important conversation for our parents and residents. So I invite you to put that date on the calendar. Again, Monday, October 17th, 7 p.m. over at our high school in the auditorium. We look forward to that meeting. And then some good news. Board of Education, as you know, we are hosting our second annual homecoming parade. Can't believe we're talking homecoming already. And that'll be Thursday, September 29th. The parade is set to kick off once again from McTerrian Parkway. It'll wind up around Tiger Trail to the stadium, and our homecoming court will be introduced. And this year, thanks to the Twinsburg Athletic Boosters, the high school classes will have class floats. So this is going to be a lot of fun for the whole community, so I hope you put that date on your calendar. Again, it's Thursday, September 29th, starting at 6 o'clock p.m. from McTerrian Parkway through Tiger Trail down to the stadium, and there will be some festivities in the stadium following the parade. I hope to see everyone out for that wonderful event. So I think that's enough from me this evening. We have a lot of great news to share, and I know Mrs. Johnson is so excited about being here to celebrate her Bissell Tigers. So without further delay, I'd like to ask Mrs. Johnson to please come forward. And I think Mrs. Davis is going to help with some pins.
Good evening, Mrs. Johnson. Back again, huh? Oh, she's so excited. I talked to Mrs. Johnson earlier today, and she's so excited about this and about all the fantastic things going on there. And big news is yet to come. I can just feel it. And I cannot hardly wait till we get big news. And that's all we can say about it right now. But we have big news coming soon. Okay. The Students of the Month program at Samuel Bissell Elementary School recognizes outstanding student achievement at the 2nd and 3rd grade levels. The focus of this recognition program is on citizenship, academics, social, civic, volunteer, or other accomplishments that set the students apart from their peers.
We would like to proudly acknowledge the positive accomplishments of the following students. Now, boys and girls, when your name is called, what I'd like you to do is come on up and shake hands with Mrs. Davis. She's one of our board members, and she has a nice pin for you. And then you want to, Mrs. Johnson wants to congratulate you. I'm sure she wants to hug you. She's a hugger. And then she has a certificate for you as well. And then I would like you all just to stay standing up front so that the whole group can be up here, because I know your moms and dads and family members want to take a nice picture of you this evening, okay? So let's begin with our second graders. First, there's Zach Anderson from Miss Conrad's class. Next, we have Isaac Solomon from Mrs. Ziska's class. And we have Alexis Weber from Miss Belinsky's class. Moving on to our third graders, the big kids at Bissell, we have Jessica Aspinall from Mrs. Potslitsky's class. Next is Reese Childs from Mr. Labus's class. And next is Owen Koss from Mrs. Watson's class. Next, we have Aiden Davey from Mrs. Cardiman's class. And next is Isabella Lynn from Mrs. Depew's class. From Mrs. Rowetters' class, we have J.D. Okuma. And last but not least, from Mr. Doloresco's class is Brooke Robinson. Congratulations, boys and girls. You know, it's really special to be the first students of the month for the whole school year. That means you started the year strong, and you're there to learn, and you're doing a fantastic job. So let's congratulate these boys and girls for this wonderful accomplishment. Okay, guys, just stay 1 second up there with your certificates up, because I still see some moms and dads that want some photos. This is a great photo opportunity. Thank you. One more round of applause while they're seated. Thank you. Good to see you guys.
And Mrs. Powers knows me too well. I'm just so super excited about the start of this school year. The boys and girls are just doing a wonderful job coming into the building every morning with their smiles and their ready-to-go attitude, and it just makes for a fine day each and every day. So we are so proud of our students of the month, and I look forward to having lunch with you guys on Friday. We also have staff of the month, and at this time, if I can have Ms. King, one of our second grade teachers, come to the front. So not only do I smile about our students, but I also smile about our teachers, because they work hard each and every day. And they just put a smile on my face because of their dedication, their motivation, and encouragement that they instill every single day at our school. So let me just read to you about Miss King. So it says, I would like to nominate Miss King because she is always helping to implement new ideas and activities into the second grade curriculum. At our planning meetings, she's willing to share resources and lessons that she has created to benefit all students. So not just the students in her classroom, but all students. Ms. King is hardworking, and she's a hardworking member of the second grade team, and that was nominated by Mrs. Ziska. So congratulations to Ms. King for staff. Keep up the good work. At this time, we have some building highlights to share with you. We have our second graders who have adjusted so well to Samuel Bissell Elementary School, and they're here tonight to really put a smile on your face. So at this time, I'm going to ask Mrs. Doyle to come to the front of the room, and Mrs. Doyle is one of our second grade teachers. Hello.
If I could have my students come up at this time. I don't know who's more nervous about this, me or them, but I'm way better in front of second graders. But they're going to come up. I just want to tell you that open house was 4 days after our school year started. You guys can line up right here and face them. It started 4 days. We had open house 4 days after school started, and I really wanted them to go ahead and do a little something for their parents. So we did a little poetry reading. In second grade, reading fluency is one of our big goals, and to improve that, and public speaking and speaking in front of others is something that we strive to improve on every day too. So without further ado, we're going to do a little poetry reading for you. May I give you this? Yes.
So while we're doing that, let's introduce ourselves real loud. I want everyone, that person that's all the way in the back, I want them to hear your name.
My name is J.C. Hutton. Kendall Varnum. Carson Langston. Brooklyn Hayda. Megan Joshua. Daniel Karochkin. Sean McHugh.
All right, nice job, boys and girls.
All right, let's take that Band-Aid off and get ready for our last one. Band-Aid's off. Eyes on me.
Homework plan. There is a place that we all know where children just don't want to go. Everyone works from morning till night. There's no time to fight or go fly a kite. There's no time for watching cartoons on TV. There's no time for building a house in a tree. There's not even time to play in the
Boys and girls, why don't you just stay 1 second in case we have parents that would like to take a nice photo of you. Mrs. Johnson wants to get one too. Thank you, boys and girls, and thank you, Mrs. Doyle, for sharing your wonderful students with us this evening. Thank you, Mrs. Johnson. We'd now like to ask Mr. Reese to come forward to celebrate Students of the Month from R.B. Chamberlain Middle School.
All right, good evening. And the criteria for Student of the Month at R.B. Chamberlain Middle School include showing respect and consideration for others, showing enthusiasm for academic and extracurricular activities, exerting a positive influence on classmates, exhibiting leadership characteristics, exhibiting patriotism and democratic principles, and showing responsibilities. And for our first month of school, we have from 7th grade, Shiree Burnett. And Shiree's mom called me this today and said, I don't think I'm going to be able to make it. I'm going to try my best. So she's a new student, and we just were delighted with her arrival. Dylan Henson. Grace Novak. Anthony McCarthy. And our 8th graders, Jada Austin. Chris Zarella. Miranda Adorni. Miranda left for a trip today. And Jonah Myers. And we'll give everyone a chance to take some pictures before I tell you about our building highlights. All right, thank you, everyone. You have a seat. Well, we had a great opening to our school year. We have a very intelligent group of 7th graders we received from Dodge. I know this because I only had to teach about 150 kids how to open a lock this year compared to normal 200. So it's a really smart group, and it's amazing how much kids grow in the middle school age. That's the fastest time of growth other than 0 to 1 in the middle school year. So to see our 8th graders come back and they're hardly recognizable. not just physically in appearance, but just behavior-wise, just how much they mature and have grown over the course of one summer. So it's an exciting time of year for us, and I feel we've really grown as a school. And our kids grow socially, emotionally, and academically, and we always want to support them in those areas. And so, new things to RB Chamberlain this year that weren't there, that our kids came back and said, hey, what's this new thing that we're doing? Some of those include, for this year, we have a Panda Club. And Panda is a research-based group. We partner with community health centers that helps prevent drug and alcohol use in middle school and high schoolers. And so we've started a Panda Club this year. We're very excited about that. We also began our tag team again this year that deals with social isolation and school bullying. And so those are two student groups, student-led groups, that help with us grow socially. Emotionally, we're very excited. We had over 90 middle schoolers sign up, volunteer to be part of our emotional support groups that we have. And that required them to take a form, take it home, get it signed, and to bring it back. And so for 90 middle schoolers to do that is incredible. And that was all on a volunteer basis. And I think it was the cool names that Mrs. Nowak put with the groups, like Got Bounce, or one of the groups is Got Bounce. And those are for kids who want to build their resiliency skills. And they voluntarily signed up for that. Or our RAISE group, they're going to raise it up. And that stands for Reduce Aggression and Increase Social Empowerment. And so we're very excited to have those things going on with our emotional support for our kids. And academically, for those kids who wanted to take Art 1 last year and got shut out, guess what? Good news. We now have 2 sections of Art 1, high school Art 1, at the middle school level for our artists. So we support the arts at RB Chamberlain. Not only do we have 2 sections of Art 1, our band and choir numbers are the highest they've ever been. So we're very excited about that. And for the first time ever in the halls of RB Chamberlain, you can hear students speaking French because we've added high school French to our programming. And so those are just some ways we've grown. So if you've walked RB Chamberlain before, those are new things going on this year. And we're very excited to have an exceptional year. So thank you, as always, for your support.
The middle school here in our school district is a great place to learn and grow, and we appreciate Mr. Reese's leadership and the leadership of Mr. Michael King, his assistant principal, and we thank you for being here this evening. Congratulations to all of our students of the month, and we look forward to some very great things from our middle school this school year. Mr. Felber, that concludes my superintendent's report for this evening.
Thank you, Mrs. Powers. As we heard, there's a place not too far away from here called Homework Land. Maybe bedtime, maybe even dinner. So if you don't want to stay for the rest of the meeting, now would be a good time. You're more than welcome to stay, but I know Homework Land is calling. So maybe texting even.
Thank you.
May I suggest you pants it with a long sleeve?
You almost went down.
I know. I had no backs on the shoes, and I backed out.
I'm looking, mark it out.
Yeah.
Here she goes.
And she stayed, and I didn't. Yeah. How do you like that?
Is there a correction or something?
I'm just saying, may I suggest you pants it with a long That was the first issue.
Yeah.
That was a job.
Maybe I'll just call it Jay, whatever.
A lot of editing. Just to keep yourself out of it. So good.
Now you put it in my head.
Slipping off, so.
That's one of those things you need to send it from a minute.
All right, Mrs. Powers, I understand we have some administrative reports. So
We do. There are committee reports on the
now,
agenda. Anybody?
Yes, and so from the committee standpoint, the policy committee did meet on the 31st. There is one item under J7, which I think we'll just explain when we get to it. Is there any other committees?
No.
I didn't think so. Okay. Now, I'm sorry, we can go. Now you can go to administrative reports.
Thank you, Mr. Felber. Every year, Board of Education, by statute, the school district must present to the Board of Education our certification of standards of the food and beverages that are sold on school district property. And about this time every year, Mark Bindis, our school district dietitian and our food service supervisor, presents to our Board of Education all things food service and wellness, and we are appreciative of Mark's presence here this evening. I know we have some great summaries of things that happened last year, and we're looking forward to an outstanding 16-17. Welcome, Mark.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Sorry, excuse me. As Mrs. Powers alluded to, the main purpose of this visit tonight is to fulfill the Ohio Revised Code requirements, and I'm going to go through that real quick, but it's also an opportunity for me to come and share with you what we've been doing in food service in the previous year and what we're going to be doing this year. As our logo says, food service, we're about Tiger Wellness, and we're passionate about your child's health. So what we try to do is promote more fruits and vegetables, healthier whole grains, and less processed foods and less sugar. And that's a goal as we prepare all meals. And we do have some a la carte that has some sugar, but those all meet state requirements too. We'll talk about those in a little bit. So this is the main portion of this that fulfills the requirement for the Ohio Revised Code, and I have to read through this to fulfill that requirement. Twinsburg City Schools is in compliance with the Ohio Revised Code 3313.814, standards governing types of foods and beverages sold on school premises. So registered dietitian, myself, Mark Bendis, plans all menus and oversees the purchase of all a la carte and vending items to ensure that not only that they comply with the Ohio Revised Code, but they also meet the highest standards set forth by the USDA. Our goal in food service is always to provide foods that are not only healthy, but great tasting and appealing to our students and staff at the Twinsburg City School District. So that fulfills the requirement. Now I'm going to take you through a brief tour of last year and what we did. One of the wellness events that we hold every year is the Tiger Wellness Workshop, and we've been doing this about 5 years now. Actually, a little bit longer than that. This past year, we had over 120 participants. This takes place the Saturday before Martin Luther King weekend, Martin Luther King Jr. weekend. We had over 120 participants this year. We also do the 2 for 2 for Hunger, which is a basketball free throw contest that benefits Pause on Child Hunger, and we'll talk about that in a little bit as well. So this is our 3rd year doing the Pause on Child Hunger benefit, and we raised over $300 that morning and early afternoon for Pause on Child Hunger. We also had Chomps. The last couple of years, we've had Chomps, the mascot for the Cleveland Browns, come out and exercise with the kids and do some photo ops. So it's usually it's a nice time for it because it's usually typical January weather in Ohio, which is not real great. So a little bit of indoor activity, a little bit of fitness testing for the students, and some community highlights as well. This year we did our 9th annual. This past spring, we did our 9th annual fun run. This year we had 241 participants. This we hold every year, the 3rd Saturday in April. The weather in April, can be unpredictable. I think it didn't snow this year, but it was awful chilly. But we've had snow, we've had rain, we've had sunny days. So it's a great morning. This year we did something a little bit different, and we themed it. It had always been the Tiger Fun Run, but we wanted to do something a little more with Tiger Spirit. So we had a little contest. We had Twinny, our tiger mascot, come out for the event. We had students. We actually had K&M International donate 3 large oversized stuffed tigers that we raffled off to students that dressed up. So if they dressed up in Tiger Spirit wear or like a tiger, we put them into a raffle to win one of the giant tigers. And so it was a great success. We had a lot of kids that came out, and it's usually a great morning of fun and fitness. So we did, this year we actually at my wife's urging, we offered a 1-mile walk as well as a 2-mile run. So we kind of offered a little option there, so if folks didn't want to do the whole 2 miles, they had a little out there. But that was our 9th annual time that we've done that event. Along with the Tiger Spirit Run, this we've done now 3 years in a row, we do a canned fruit drive. And it's a targeted drive. We're collecting only canned fruit, and this benefits the Emergency Assistance Center, who is our partner for Pause on Child Hunger. So one of the great needs that they have every year is canned fruit. It's a big item that gets moved quickly out of their pantry. So for 5 weeks leading up to the Tiger Spirit Run at Dodge, Bissell, and Wilcox, we collected canned fruit to benefit the Emergency Assistance Center. Together, they collected over 1,681 pounds of canned fruit. That's a lot of canned fruit. It was weekly trips for me from the schools to the Emergency Assistance Center to drop those off because there was no way you were going to take it at one time. We also did a a collection the day of the Tiger Fun Run. We posted the totals of the schools and how much they had collected up to that point, and families were encouraged to bring canned goods that day as well, and we added those to the total. So we kind of thought we'd put a little motivation behind it this year, so we did a popsicle party for the school that generated or brought in the most canned fruits, and this year it was Bissell Elementary, which is nice because they were being highlighted here this evening. But Bissell collected 856 pounds of canned fruit and won a popsicle party. So it was a good time, and it was a great collection and great results. Talked to you a little bit about this last year. We introduced a program last year called Fear Factor Veggie Edition, and you can see our sign that we use. This is particularly at Dodge Intermediate. But what we wanted to do is we've had a program, which I'll talk about next, which is Fruit and Veggie Patrol, for 6 years now. But we didn't have anything for the middle school age students. So we wanted to do something at Dodge and Chamberlain to connect with the students, also get them to try some new things and stretch them a little bit. So it's always easy to get kids to eat fruit, but vegetables are another issue. So what we try to do is bring some unique products to them and let them try some different things and kind of put it in the Fear Factor mentality of challenging them to do it. And they responded quite well with it. This particular picture, we did our Tex-Mex baked beans, which we tested them both at Chamberlain. When we do this, we do it at Chamberlain and Dodge, so we want to test sample them to all the kids. But we also sampled out blended vegetable juices, roasted cinnamon chickpea snack, and a sweet potato crisp. So some of these items where kids wouldn't necessarily try at home or wouldn't try on their own, when we put them to the challenge, they were, we stretched them a little bit and they came out and tried. And what we saw as a response is when we actually menued these items the following week, we had a better participation rate of those items than we had in the past. So Fruit and Veggie Patrol at Bissell and Wilcox is now beginning our 6th year, and this was a program that we developed in order to encourage fruit and vegetable consumption. And I can tell you from the first day we started till now, I remember walking through the tables, and for any child that has a fruit or vegetable, and typically if I have a student with me, we're able to wait until they actually eat the fruit or vegetable before we give them a prize. But we have little prizes that we get from Oriental Trading Company, and little rewards is what we call them. And what we're trying to do is encourage and a little bit of positive reinforcement for them trying and eating fruits and vegetables. But from the time we started until now, I can tell you almost every student ends up getting a prize. And now it's more the exception than the rule that the kid doesn't. So it's been a great program for us. So this is our new tie-dye shirts that we'll be wearing this year. And actually I got these for my staff this year as well. So the days that we'll, ironically, this is now my 18th year in Twinsburg schools, and prior to starting this program, I was at all the schools all the time, but before starting this program, most of the kids didn't know who I was. Now, even if I don't have my tie-dye shirt on, they see me and they go, hey, it's the fruit and veggie guy. So if you're a registered dietitian, that's a cool thing to be known as. So this is our 6th year, and proud that it's been going strong, and you'll be seeing these in full force on the days we do them at Bissell and Wilcox. A little recap on Pause on Child Hunger. That is our backpack program that we do through the Emergency Assistance Center. It is a weekend backpack, and what we do for the members of the community that aren't aware, I know the board knows, but we have a backpack of food, healthy snacks and food. Our produce company, Cerna & Son, donates fresh apples and carrots for our students. So that goes in every backpack. We also have 2 whole grain cereals, 2 packs of peanut-free sunflower seeds that are the protein source, and we do 2 nutrient-dense snacks with that as well. So this is about 1,100 calories that goes home in a backpack every Friday with these kids. So last year we had we averaged about 150 students that were serviced every week through Wilcox all the way up through Dodge. Dodge was our new school that we added last year, halfway through the year. This year, with the introduction of InfoSnap that we added for student registration, we've already boosted that number. What we did is we put a waiver attached into InfoSnap to try to encourage people and expose it a little bit more. And so far, starting off for the school year, we're already at 162 students participating. So this Friday will be the first backpack that goes home this year, but they'll go home every Friday after this. Also, since it's the beginning of the year, 150 students last year was towards the end of the year, and that's after we've kind of built up and added students. So 162 kids to start the year is magnificent. So I fully expect that we're going to have this number up closer to 200 before the end of the year. So some of the new things. So that was a recap for last year. Some of the new things that we're doing this year. And a lot of this is going to be pointed at the upper schools, but we made a big push from Dodge all the way up to the high school to promote more fresh fruits and vegetables. So we revamped all of our salads, and we did these entree salads. So they're a $2 entree, or they can be purchased as part of the $3 lunch. So every day at Dodge, Chamberlain, and the high school, we have buffalo chicken, fruit salads, garden veggie salads, grilled chicken salads, Italian salads, popcorn chicken, and we also added a spinach salad as well that's available. And I can tell you just from watching the numbers the first few weeks of school, we're selling a lot of salads, and that's a good sign. Added some healthier snacks as well. You know, we do a little bit of a la carte at the younger buildings, Chamberlain and Dodge. It's limited, but we want to try to expand. Usually it's baked chips or 100% juice or things like that. So this year we added a couple new items. We have whole grain pretzels, soft pretzels, which are actually can be purchased as part of the salad lunch that's available every day, or they can buy them a la carte. We also have 1.5 ounce whole grain cookies. And new this year at Chamberlain, actually it started last year, we brought a popcorn maker that does smart snack compliant popcorn. It's the same popcorn that we use at Bissell for the kids, for the fundraisers. But we brought it to the high school after we met with a student advisory group, and they wanted to see popcorn like they used to have at Dodge, so we brought it to them. It wasn't a big hit at the high school, so we decided to debut it this year at Chamberlain. It's done very well. So we have popcorn available that we pop fresh every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at Chamberlain. So that's new there. At all the schools, we offered, we've really made a push. This year we did increase lunch prices at all of our schools. We went up to $3 at the high school, Chamberlain, and Dodge, $2.75 at Bissell and Wilcox. And this is our subsidized reimbursable meal from the federal government. It's really, as a registered dietitian, I'll tell you, it is the healthiest thing that we can sell to our kids. And since I've been in Twinsburg, now the 18th year, it's been the main focus of what we've done. Yeah, I'm going to show you a little bit of a la carte, but reimbursable meals is the best thing that we can do for our kids. It's the best deal for their money, and also best nutritionally for them. So we did raise lunch prices this year. We did choose, even though we are one of the very lowest schools in the area, to keep breakfast at $1.50, and that was a choice on my own. Even though we had some research to show that typical schools in the area were charging $1.75 or higher. We're at a point with our breakfast program that we're really trying to build our participation. And I really felt that if we kept our prices low, that was going to encourage our kids to keep coming out for that. So this year we added several new items. At the elementary schools, we offered a whole grain cinnamon bun stick. And at all the schools, we have a breakfast pizza, which has done real well so far. At the upper buildings, Dodge, Chamberlain, and the high school, we have breakfast sandwiches twice a week. These are all hot items. So pretty much 5 days a week, we have a hot item that's available. We also have some cold items that are available as well. So we try to offer as many options and choices as possible to our students to encourage their participation. The last thing that I wanted to talk to you about, and this is, if you've been up to the high school or you've seen anything, is the new big thing at the high school. And this actually came out of our student advisory group, too, that we set up through the high school last year. When we talked to them, the big thing that they wanted popcorn, and they wanted frozen yogurt. Well, after doing lots of research about frozen yogurt, and we used to have a frozen yogurt machine years ago, and it got to be, frozen yogurt, after the novelty wears off, it kind of becomes, just a big piece of equipment that needs serviced all the time. So we kind of, after doing a little bit of research on frozen yogurt, we decided to bring in Dippin' Dots. So We have Yo-Dots at Twinsburg High School now, and these are yogurt. They are compliant with Smart Snacks in schools, so it is a healthy Dippin' Dots option. So we do have cookies and cream, cookie dough, cotton candy, and Sour Patch Red Berry. So that's, like I said, we do some a la carte because there is a need, and we try to balance the two together and we always promote our reimbursable lunch over any a la carte, but we want to have options out there for our students to keep them happy. And that was in response to our high school advisory group. So that's all I have for this evening. Does anybody have any questions?
Thank you, Mr. Bennis. I think I always feel healthier just listening to you. I'd kid you that 18 years ago when you started that tie-dye might have been in fashion, but I think you're still too young for that. But fantastic presentation, a lot of great information. I think it's, again, just getting the word out. I'm very impressed with the entree salads, and again, the compliance piece has to be there. So.
Great. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. I think that's why my daughter's lunch account has gone down so quickly. I heard about it. I thought she was joking. Thank you.
Mark does a great job for us at all of our buildings, and your staff does a great job working directly with our students.
I really have a fantastic staff. Whenever we've asked anything of them, they've really worked with us and made things happen for us. So that's, the success of any group is based on the employees, and I have a great group.
And the health fair was fun last year. That's always fun.
It's always a good time.
And just a couple of comments. One, I'm going to tell my daughter that you're offering Dippin' Dots. She graduated, but she's going to be highly upset that this is an option now, and it wasn't when she was here. But no, I love the fact that you're so creative every year, and kind of, if kids come to you with recommendations, that you kind of do your research, and if it's something that you can pull off, that you do. I don't know that happens very often in other places. So I really appreciate your willingness to kind of be creative in providing healthy options to the kids that are kind of cool, and it takes some time to do that. So, I mean, I'm not sure how you juggle all of the things that you rattled off here, and then are able to kind of pull off, doing what you do every day. But I really appreciate your efforts.
Thank you. Well, even though we do have somewhat of a captive audience, although they do have an option to pack, we are very customer driven. So everything we do is based around our students. As our goals are this year, student centered. Everything we do in food service is student centered.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mark. Board of Education, the second presentation this evening talks about the very important program that we have in our schools. Last year, Board of Education, thanks to your support, we were able to bring into our school district the Beachbrook school-based program. And we talk a lot about being student-centered, and we talk a lot about wraparound services and making sure that we pay attention to the whole child. Well, through the work of the three ladies that Mrs. Traphagen is going to introduce here in a minute, we are very proud of the fact that not only do we take care of the academic needs of our students, but now we have a wonderful way to help address issues with students around emotional and social and mental health needs. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Denise Traphagen, our Director of Pupil Services, who will then in turn introduce these three wonderful women who have just provided such great service to the school district, and they will provide for you this evening a look back to 15-16 and a look forward to some programming for this current school year. Welcome, Denise.
Thank you. Good evening, Board of Education and Superintendent Powers. She was well liked by her friends and teachers. He was an athlete, fit and good-looking kid. He was going to Tennessee State as a starting halfback. She was extremely popular, always surrounded by friends. We had no idea. I never thought this would be my son. We never had a conversation about drugs. We thought this was just a phase. We were hit blindly by this situation, and we had no idea how to deal with it. Something is wrong. You doubt yourself. I witnessed him have 2 heart attacks in ICU, and then the doctor said he was going to die. Life after losing my son will never be the same. It could happen to you. It was not supposed to be this time. He was on the right path. It's really bad. We had a hard time talking about it. She was ashamed. She wanted to get well, but she could not stop. Educate yourself and your child. Have this conversation about prescription drugs and heroin before it's too late. All these quotes were taken from parents who lost children from prescription drugs and heroin. As Superintendent Powers shared with you in her report, there was 5 of us last week that were invited to go to Aurora to listen to the Drug Enforcement Administration, the FBI, and the United States Attorney Office, along with our local law enforcement. And as Superintendent Powers stated, their presentation touched our hearts. And we knew it was so heartfelt and so strong. And when they said that we have a heroin epidemic in this country, you turn on the television and in Akron and Cleveland, and you hear, every time you turn on the television, we hear of young people dying from this awful epidemic. And to hear that it was only in its infancy stages, we knew as a district that we had to commit the resources we had to help educate our parents, our kids, and our community on this awful epidemic. When I heard this presentation, as an educator, it scared me, but as a parent, it terrifies me. And our presentation tonight is twofold. When we came, when we presented in January, Beach Brook had only been with us since November, and we shared that we would be back after the program was implemented, and share some of the things that Beach Brook has been able to help our children. So that's one of the things that we're going to be talking about tonight, is the summary of those services from November until through the summer of this year. The second part of our program, again, is our commitment as a district to be proactive, because the research said that these scared straight programs don't work for kids. We have to be proactive and be preventative. And you're going to hear in their presentation tonight some of the programs and in-services that they plan to give in our community that are going to be, like Mrs. Superintendent Powers said, are going to wrap around our kids to give them the support they need so that they can be academically successful, behaviorally successful, socially, emotionally successful, and also the prevention of this awful epidemic, and also drugs and alcohol. For those of you who have read the book, Good to Great by Jim Collins, he shares in his book that we need to get the right people in the right positions doing the right things for kids. Well, Amanda Nowak, Carrie Tolino Bell, and Kim Thornton are these people. It is my pleasure to have them take over the presentation now and to talk about their services and all that they're doing for our students here in Twinsburg. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Kim Thornton, and I work in Wilcox and Bissell schools currently. And I'm going to start the presentation. So, referrals. Throughout the year, we have been collecting data regarding referrals, and we've requested feedback from parents and students about our services. Students were referred to Beach Brook for the following reasons. These are the categories that we came up with. Issues of anxiety, depression, ADHD, behavior problems, trouble with peer relationships, adjustment and or grief, autism, community resources, or needing referrals, and other identified needs. While some students demonstrated just one reason for referral, a lot of our students demonstrated multiple needs for referrals. And you all should have a copy of the year-end report that will give many more details than we're going to go over. So this is just the information about overall reasons for referrals. Our number one reason for referral was behavior problems, and then as you can see, the list goes on, but I wanted to touch bases on what exactly that means. As we've all been talking about today, we want to address the whole child and meet the needs of the whole child. And although we're Beachbrook Services, which when people think of us as mental health or mental illness, it's really well-being. And when kids' well-being, whether that's physically, socially, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, behaviorally, if their needs are not being met in one of those realms, we see behavior problems. And Amanda Nowak and I actually just did a presentation for the teachers at Wilcox on reasons why you might see children act out or have challenging behaviors. We touched on issues of trauma or overwhelming stress, but our students may have issues with depression, anxiety, adjustment or grief, ADHD, and all those things can contribute to or be manifested in behavior problems. So, for example, a kid who is really struggling with depression. It might not appear to be the typical depression, like tearful or crying, withdrawn. Instead, they might be referred for behavior problems, because kids with depression and adults, all people with depression, other signs of it look like irritability, angry outbursts, refusal to do things, or anxiety can look like all of those things. It can also be avoidance, and it can also look like trouble in peer relationships. ADHD, signs of depression and anxiety can also look like ADHD. They all look like each other. Kids have what we call functional impairments. They have trouble organizing, paying attention, getting to school on time, getting along with peers, getting along with their teachers. So oftentimes when we get referrals from teachers or administrators or concerned helpers, they just say behavior problems. This is what we're having trouble with, when there's really underlying things going on. And that's what we address using our comprehensive services. And that's what Amanda and I did talk to the teachers at my school about, is let's figure out the why. What's going on, and how can we address that in a way to meet their needs, whether that is behaviorally, emotionally, socially, physically, spiritually. And by spiritually, I mean, do they have a sense of purpose and meaning in their life? Or can we get them connected to that? And oftentimes when we are able to meet one or more of those needs, you see a decrease in behavioral issues. And for information about referrals for individual schools, you can refer to that year-end report. And this is a graph that just shows those numbers pictorially. And I will hand it off to Amanda Nowak.
So not only did we collect basic data, raw data, but what's really important to us is how are we affecting change within the individual student as well as within the family. So we decided to send out a survey along in partnership with Twinsburg to have the parents and the students more thoroughly evaluate our services. Again, you can find this information in the report. Now, you're going to notice a couple important numbers on here, and I want to acknowledge this because this is, when we're talking about our strengths and weaknesses, we have to be transparent. On May 31st, which was the last day of school, an email was sent out to 159 parents requesting that they respond to the survey. So there was a link within the survey, both with a link for the parents to respond as well as the students. And our response rate wasn't great, but data is data, and we'll take what we can get sometimes. Because you know what? The people that are responding really want to share. And oftentimes we get casual comments here and there, but to actually collect some data was very important for us to evaluate our program from the parent's perspective and the student's perspective. So I'm going to share some of that with you tonight. So within the report, you're going to see a breakdown of the specific questions we asked and then the responses from the parents and the students. However, I wanted to acknowledge some of the anecdotal references that were left because I feel like those really encapsulate what we do. So this first one here, all of this was anonymous. Parents were not linked back and forth. It was completely done in an anonymous nature. So I just want to read this because I think it really speaks volumes to the work that we have all done. Kim kept in contact with me and made me aware of the different techniques she was teaching my son so that we could incorporate them at home. She was great with communicating with me. My son looks forward to working with her, and I can notice some of the changes in how he processes his decision making. So again, coming from a parent, and Kim works at both Bissell and Wilcox. In-school services were convenient and free services were essential, as we couldn't afford to continue taking her to the counselor who gave my daughter her diagnosis, but she really needed help getting through the difficult school year. As we'll present later, oftentimes a lot of these families struggle as far as connecting their children to outside services. So being in the school, providing those services in the school was essential for many families who face financial hardships, but then also, the scheduling. Not every parent can take their child to a therapy office by 5 o'clock. It's just not really feasible. So to be in school was really a blessing for a lot of these parents. Ms. Tolino Bell, who works at the high school, was very helpful, supportive, and willing to meet when easiest for parent and student. So while we are in school, our big goal was to be able to meet the needs of the family. So whether that was in-home services, which we did a lot of community work this summer, or after-school services, it was really about working with the individual in order to meet their needs. And then finally, I put this one in here for a particular reason. Just their presence and knowing that they were there when needed. So that's what the parent found helpful, because sometimes it's just nice to know that there's another caring adult within the building that's going to be there as a safety net for your child. This information here, just some references that the students shared. So she helped, and they had to type this, okay? So she helped me learn how to control my anger. It helped me know that someone was on my side and being nice to me and helping me and letting me feel like I'm not crazy. I put this in, so full disclosure. Miss Nowak is very nice and kind with me. She was very interested with things I like, and we even played my card game. I went with one session with another boy this summer and really want to go again. It was helpful having someone to talk to. So this is the kind of stuff that really speaks to my heart, because these are students willingly taking their time to talk about how you impact their day and how the service that you provide really makes them feel. Through the survey information, we were kind of able to reflect on some of the strengths and weaknesses that occurred through our program. Most parents viewed the program as supportive and helpful in improving their child's functioning and assisting in providing the linkage and referral to community resources. And a lot of parents also saw improvements in their child's ability to manage their behavior, feelings, emotions, and stress in their lives. However, I do want to mention that many of these issues tend to be chronic. So you may see some of these issues develop early on in life, and based on the stressors or risk factors or whatever's going on within that whole child and that whole child's atmosphere, some of these things tend to manifest at different times. So while many parents reported improvement, we're also cognizant that we're not trying to fix people or put a magic wand over them, but only to help bolster them and help improve those protective factors that they do have. Parents shared that in-school services were convenient, and parents were also pleased that the service was free and available to all students. This was really, parents are impressed. When they talk about, when parents come in and they ask, well, what do I do? Do I write you a check? Do I give you my insurance card? And you say, no, this is part of the whole school. They really are just so grateful, just truly grateful that this is an available service to their children and to the family. And parents shared that they look forward to summer services and the continuation of the program. What we did this summer, and Carrie will talk to you about that a little bit more, is we really did a lot of wraparound services with our families and the students that we served. So whether it was the students coming up to the high school, us going into the community, doing in-home visits, linking other students together for small groups. We did a lot to make sure that the work that we did during the school year wasn't just forgotten about during the summer. So some of the feedback that we thought about, so parents, a lot of parents shared that they would like to increase communication from their beach brick worker, either in person or in phone, so that way they can have better awareness regarding their child's function, their issues, or improvement. We all get busy, and we are all guilty of sometimes not sharing enough. And one of the things that I really realized is these parents at times have a hard time advocating for themselves and the needs of their children. So to meet them on their turf, especially with the work that we did this summer, coming to them, we were able to kind of create this relationship where they felt comfortable sharing with us and we felt comfortable sharing with them. So we weren't the expert, but we were there to help join them. And that really helped communication, and it sparked good communication for this coming year. So that is definitely one of our objectives, to keep ongoing communication and engagement with parents, so that way, in talking about drugs and alcohol, having that open dialogue with parents, providing them with information, and them feeling comfortable coming to you is really important in the success of their children. The other thing that was expressed by some of the students was that at times we weren't always available. And as you saw before, we had 260 referrals from November to May 31st. And there's three of us. So we were busy and oftentimes split between several schools. So one of the things that we've really been proactive about in doing this year is communicating not only with the students, but their teachers, the staff, secretaries, where we are, what we're doing, and having those set schedules so that way they have the consistency there to know that Miss Nowak is here on Monday and Wednesday, and I know on Monday and Wednesday I can see her, or having that schedule that they know, and reinforcing that with the parents so that way they can also know when we're coming to see their student. All right, I'm going to turn this over to Carrie Tolino-Bell, who works at the high school.
Hi, everyone. It's great to be back and see you all again. Thank you for having us. It's very exciting to me also to be part of this upcoming school year and to be a part of the full school year from start to end. I really enjoyed working with your students at the high school, and I'm excited to begin another year. So thank you for having us back. Back to what Ms. Nowak was talking about with our summer program and special initiatives. Over the summer, we had over 54 students participate in our summer programming. We had some that participated in an individual level, which that was predominantly me at the high school. We also had some group services that Ms. Nowak did, and I sometimes piggybacked off of. So that was a lot of fun engaging with the kids, more so in the community. I was at the library. We were going out to eat. We were playing baseball or basketball at the park. Rain or shine, and we had a lot of fun over the summer, especially with a lot of the groups that we had get together and just do something fun and relaxed, but yet still engaging in something that the students really looked forward to. We did some in-home stuff too, so a lot of times I got to meet some more parents. We also helped with referring some students to if they did need some additional services other than just us. One of the other things that we worked on over the summer, as was mentioned earlier, is that we started to collaborate with Community Resource. The agency is known as the Community Health Center, and they're based out of Akron. They, along with the Adams Board of Summit County, they all kind of work together, and they all kind of support us in this mission in the drug prevention task that we all have in front of us. We secured 2 mini grants, so that was something we applied for and got, which was really a big win for us because we have $2,500 for RBC and $2,500 for THS to use towards anything that we can use for the programming that we want to put in place. So that is very helpful. So we've been working out how we're going to use that money for the programs that we're going to put into place. But luckily, Community Health Center they're also covered under the grant from Adams Board, a different grant. But their services are also free to us at the school, so we're going to utilize that in a way that they'll help coordinate us to put on the programs that we have at RBC and THS. And it was mentioned earlier that we have 2 different groups, which I'll talk about in a second. Some of our goals and objectives that we have for this upcoming school year, 2016-17. We're going to continue to collaborate with our school personnel and community resources to create this comprehensive alcohol and drug prevention program. So that'll be with the agency I mentioned and as well as others as we find them in getting that extra support to do what it is that we need to do, because we all need help, including us, with the task that we have is pretty big. We also want to increase our group interventions, which I plan on adding additional groups into THS. It was very good and successful last year. My girls are already asking, hey, when are we going to have group, Miss Carrie? It's Tuesday. Like, this is what we should be doing. So I'm looking forward to doing that. Most of it is centered on skills that they can use to regulate their emotions, to then decrease the behaviors that we're seeing in the school. And enhance their ability to cope, to regulate their emotions, to handle anger, or to have better decision-making skills. We also want to improve our communication that Ms. Nowak was talking about earlier with our students, with our parents. So, you know, when we get a referral right away, calling the parent and following up. I met a couple parents during our open house night at THS. Just simple stuff like that in order to keep that connection with the parents, because that's so crucial into the success of our students. If the parents don't know what's going on, they can't help at home, and all they know is, you know, just that the student's there and they're seeing Miss Carey or Miss Nowak or Miss Thornton, but they want to know how they're doing and just a quick update. So we're going to increase our time to connect with the parents. Also, we're going to offer some educational and professional development opportunities, like Ms. Nowak and Ms. Thornton have already done so far this year, but also not just to students and the parents, but also to our staff as well, just to help them understand what it is that a lot of our kids have gone through or are going through, so they can make sense of what to do about it when they see it in the classroom, that it's not just Johnny being disrespectful. They know, like, okay, there might be something else going on here. Maybe I should have them do this instead. So what we spoke about a lot this evening is our alcohol and other drug prevention. I myself at school was someone who was more focused on mental health, and that's my passion. But the more and more I went through classes and I talked to a lot of my professors, they just said, this is what's happening. There is a co-occurrence in mental health and alcohol and drug problems. So much so, and it was astonishing to me when they told me it was somewhere around 50% that it's linked that closely. So a lot of times when you're seeing a mental health issue, there's also an underlying drug and alcohol issue, as well as vice versa. So it's very, very, very important for us to address the risks that are involved in not just alcohol and drug use, but also the mental health issues, because they're so closely tied together. So the more we can do to prevent and to catch it before it gets to that point, the better, because those kids are going to fare a lot better in life beyond our THS doors. The middle school and the high school, like we talked about earlier, we will begin the leadership clubs that are student-led, student-run, obviously adult facilitated, but that's going to be one of our collaborations with Community Health Center. So they're going to help us co-facilitate these groups. So we have Panda Club, and that stands for Prevent and Neutralize Drug and Alcohol Use. And then we also have, I will be doing the Teen Institute group at the THS. So again, it's the students coming up with their ideas, how they want to then reach out to their peers. And this is a very big leadership role for them to then, speak to their peers to say, hey, that's not okay. Not everybody's doing it, because that's a big myth that everybody's doing it, so that's okay for me to too. And it speaks more coming from their peers than it does from just adults to say, hey, no, don't do that. So again, that'll be a very empowering group, and I think it'll take off really well with our kids. I also have been doing more formalized groups at TAP. It's going to be a weekly thing, and actually Mondays and Thursdays, so that way I hit the afternoon kids and the morning kids. And that's going to be an ongoing group that I meet with all of them every single week, and we're going to cover different topics that are just going to promote good decision making, how to set goals, and how to figure out life, because a lot of them right now, especially this year, are seniors. and they're about to go out into the world and be members of the community. So I'm hoping I can give them a few more tools in their toolbox to navigate life. Like we talked about, also Community Health Center will provide some ongoing small group classes as part of an enrichment and remediation programming for RBC. And then we're very excited to see this guest speaker. We've seen a couple videos of this guy. He looks really cool. His name is Christopher Milo, and he'll present a 4-part series for our students. He's also going to address the school personnel, so it's like not just a one-time thing, he's in, he's out. So he'll promote a lot of respect and tolerance within our student environment. So we're looking forward to seeing that presentation. So just in closing, summary of our presentation. So we had 261 students referred to our Beachbrook services. Our parent and student feedback identified the program's strengths and weaknesses. So we've got a lot of strengths. We've got some other things we want to improve upon this year. So we're excited to tackle that on. We're very much looking forward to assisting the students, the staff, the community as a whole in getting these kids the support to address the needs, to address the alcohol and drug prevention program, and giving that extra support wherever they are found. I very much, myself and Ms. Nowak and Ms. Thornton, very much appreciate that we have that opportunity to partner with you for another year. I'm excited for, like I said, this year to just be a part of it all again. I mean, just in that short time from November to the end of the school year, being there at graduation, it was just like, I got to know these students really well that I worked with, and to see them cross the stage and graduate and just be so excited. I'm just happy to be a part of it again this year. So I thank you.
Thank you. I think very, very valuable, very good information. I know it's just the beginning, and data's data, so hopefully we can find a way to get some more data as that comes through. The kids will absolutely enjoy Christopher Milo. I know him. We saw him a number of years ago. I believe at an ESC dinner, but I've had the occasion to work with him in another, years ago, and they're in for quite a surprise. He's very good. Comments from colleagues, Superintendent?
Yeah, I appreciate the parental feedback is good information, particularly understanding and measuring behavior that's beyond the classroom. Really what's happening at home, I think, is important and a good indicator of whatever strategies you guys are implementing, and understanding that I forget which one of you ladies talked about the fact that you have to understand what's going on at home to be able to. So with that being said, what I didn't hear a lot of, and that it doesn't mean that you're not doing it or measuring it, but how this aligns with what's going on in the classroom, working with teachers and helping them formulate strategies to help them be better at classroom management. I presume that because of the behavior problems, they're not able to be in a classroom setting for an extended period of time for whatever the reason, so they need to be pulled out and to work with you guys. But I'd be interested to know if you can characterize, maybe not now, but a data point that I would be interested in is the type of collaboration that you have with teachers and to what extent that is, and also measuring the impact by either way of reduced referrals, because I think that that's an indirect or direct result, an impact of their academic achievement. At the end of the day, we want to make sure that we have these wraparound services, but we also want to make sure that these kids are achieving. So, ideally you want both of them.
Sure.
But you obviously there are a lot of symptoms with respect to the behavior that impact their ability to be focused academically. So, I don't know if you're prepared to talk about that, or you, Denise.
Sure. I would just to address that a little bit. I mean, with some of the work, probably with the younger schools, they've dealt more directly with the classrooms and the teachers. Probably less often on my end at the high school, but certainly the overall goal is to see more academic success, to have less referrals. But it was interesting because Louise Tringo and I were having a conversation because it just seemed like there was a lot of referrals at the end of the year especially. And I think it goes in waves too. There's certain times of the year that are more stressful, so we'll see a lot of kids coming in, and then we'll see other times of the year where it's not so stressful. Certainly, I think kind of back to the feedback we had earlier about the parents saying it's just nice to know that somebody's there. They are starting to know that I'm there. So, of course, they're saying, oh, okay, I've gotten some help out of Miss Carey. My friend's having some trouble, and they haven't been talking about it to anybody, and they'll encourage their peer to come and talk to me. So sometimes I think it's just a matter of there's somebody there for them to talk to, and maybe they don't have a therapist, maybe they have some issues going on at home and they can't talk to their parent. So I think that's why I've seen a big number here in this regard. But certainly that, you know, the object is to not have a job. Like, that's my job, is to not have a job. But do I know if that's going to happen? I don't know. But in the meantime, I'm going to do what I can to help these students be successful and to have them be, you know, able to be in class longer, to be able to manage their behavior. And we've already seen some of that. I just don't know if we have like the exact data to that effect just yet. But I would like to see that as well.
Mr. Curtis, you bring up a lot of good points, and we agree totally with what you said, that this information needs to be embedded within our curriculum. And at our next curriculum meeting, a community health center is going to present on the curriculums for the Panda Club and the Teen Institute, and we will be looking at their materials, because you're absolutely right. This is something that needs to be embedded to our curriculum, and we need to be working on these issues every day, because we need to look at the whole child.
Well, you got to, and again, I understand you got to start somewhere, and this is a new initiative. I think the longer that you guys are here, we'll be able to kind of formulate and look at some longitudinal data, and you'll have some comparison data to look at from last year to this year, and kind of see, you know, what it looks like. So this isn't anything that I personally am expecting overnight. It's just a question I was curious about. Because it is a true wraparound. It comes back from where it started, and I want to make sure that teachers are fully involved and invested in working in a collaborative way, because they expand their capacity not only to teach but also to manage their classrooms by, you know, developing more skills to be effective in their own craft. And so that's why I was looking in terms of what the partnership looks like there.
Thank you.
Further comments? Mrs. Powers?
We're all jumping at you right now. I'm like, I got one more thing to throw at you. So one thing that, you know, we didn't promote or share specifically, because we didn't collect data. The first year was just so busy. But they know who we are. And this summer I had the pleasure of working very closely with Mr. Reese and Mr. King on really revamping our whole PBIS system. So I was able to kind of take my expertise in behavioral health, and then they took their expertise in education, and we worked together to create a whole PBIS initiative. So how are we going to show these students what our expectations are? So I talked to Mr. Reese about what's a positive opposite. How are we going to reinforce to these students what we want to see them do? So instead of saying, don't run in the hallway, we're going to say, walk slowly, walk on the right side, you know, please raise your hand, you know, talk appropriately. So we are doing all of those things. And part of my role, at least at RBC, is to help the teachers in the process of alternative discipline. So when the teachers are having a discipline referral that goes to the office, it's constant collaboration. So that it comes to the office talks to them, the student and the parent, and then they're coming to see me to reflect on their choices. Then I'm coming back to the family as well as the administration and the teachers to talk about those things that were effective. So it's a complete circle. Although we haven't reported on it, I'm running. We're all running from classroom to classroom, from person to person, whether it's someone, you know, a lunch aide that could really, you know, use some help, or the PE teacher, or, you know, Officer Ron or Officer Greg. We're all communicating. And one of the things that we got to do last year and just this past Friday was provide that professional development opportunity for the teachers as well as the instructional aides. And having that, you really get that opportunity to connect. So when they're seeing you, they pull you in the hall. Hey, I got to talk to you about so-and-so. I need some help with this. I don't know what's going on. And it's this partnership that really helps the whole child. So back to the whole child. We're working with the whole school. And we will collect data to demonstrate. So thank you.
You're talking my language there. That you hit the nail on the head.
Okay. All right, thank you.
And I just have one quick thing. I know it takes a lot of time sometimes to build these the trust of these students, and there's a confidentiality factor. Now, are you finding some students that you've seen from the beginning there all the way through? Are you finding that towards the end of the year, maybe they're getting to the point where they can kind of be comfortable opening up with their parents about what's been going on with them? Because I know that's definitely not something that probably is going to be pressured on them. But are you finding that they're wanting to do that once they've kind of been through the program for a while?
Yes. And my background is in family therapy, and we've all worked in individual and family therapy. And our perspective, that to me is the most valuable perspective, regardless of what's going on. Just yesterday, I had a student that I had after school because he really is academically on point. I mean, straight A student, but his schedule is so packed, he can't meet during the day. So I meet with him after school, and Dad and I have arranged this. So I make it a point to walk out to the car with the student, say hello to Dad, give Dad some positive feedback, so that way we're helping to bridge that gap, because oftentimes they don't feel comfortable coming to their parent directly about these issues. So if you can help facilitate that relationship, it's so important. So whenever we can bring the parents in, I'm all about it, because the parents really need to know, and the students need to know, everybody's all on the same team. It might not always feel like it, but you're all on the same team, and you have to show that you're collectively working together to just help them. So yes, as much as we can, we do it.
Because that would be a goal, but I'm sure they understand that coming to you, they're not always going to be in that spot. And it's nice to hear that you're breaking through, and some of these kids are going to be, opening up and sharing with their parents or their family. Mm-hmm. All right, thanks.
Thank you.
Board of Education, just to expound on what we just heard, on the back of the RBC handbook, what Mr. Reese did was put some positives for students to refer to. The kids carry those handbooks everywhere they go. And so instead of saying, don't run in the hall, there are ways of saying that in a positive sense. So building upon Beach Brook and in partnership with our PBIS initiative, you start to begin to see this being an integrated part of the school community. And I do applaud the 3 Beach Brook social workers that you've met this evening. I just want to recall, Board of Education, that this was 3 years ago when I brought to the Board of Education my concern about social emotional needs of kids at our TAP, our Twinsburg Alternative Program. And thanks to your foresight and your ability and your willingness to dedicate some district resources, we now have a very strong program. My first interest was about the alternative programming and worrying about those kids' particular needs. But you listened to that, and you also allowed us to expand our programming. And you're hearing tonight some of the wonderful things that are happening, and more is yet to come. I also want to thank Denise Trapphagen. It's because of her leadership and her positive attitude. Anything that comes to Denise, she puts a positive spin on it. She looks at a problem and finds a solution. And Denise, thank you for your leadership in making sure that this Beach Brook program is so strong, and it really has become an integral part. And really, all 3 social workers have become trusted members of our family. So thank you for your leadership in that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anything further? Thank you all. All right, we are now at the section of our agenda, G for remonstrance. This is the opportunity for those wishing to address the Board of Education. Those fill out a blue card that they may be recognized by the board president and are welcome to make a comment. No formal action will be taken on subjects that are not included on this agenda until the board has had the opportunity to study them, and comments regarding personnel must be submitted in writing through the office of the superintendent. At this point, I do have 1 blue card, and Mr. David Lewis. And friends? No?
Thanks for your patience.
Evening.
And for the time
Sure.
to come before you. So appreciate it. Yeah, my name is David Lewis. This is my wife, Rosalind. She's from Kenya. And that's kind of important. Just a second. Also have Pastor Bob Ross. And we are with Destiny Church, which is right down the road. And we attend there, and Bob Ross is one of our pastors there. I'm sorry. In about a month.
We in? Sorry. Okay. Sorry. Literally about a month ago, we were in Kenya running a vacation Bible camp for about 200 children who come from different areas, mostly around Nairobi, who are orphaned. They have been kind of cast aside. And the reason we were there is these children are under the umbrella of an organization called Remember New. As the board, you can see on the paper I handed out, this is an organization that runs homes in 12 countries to get children who are at risk of being pulled in the sex trade. These are girls and boys. And what they do is they identify children, they open up homes, and they will bring the children in for clothing, housing, education, food, get them out of that dangerous situation that we read about so often where I think it's over 1 million children a year are being sold in the sex trade throughout the world. So right now, Remember New has about 1,200, drop in the bucket, but we're doing something. So we were there running a vacation Bible camp, and the significance with Twinsburg is we had a group of 16 go with us from the United States. 10 of those people are from Destiny, and a number of them live in Twinsburg. And we had Pastor Bob went, Pastor Calvin Brown and his entire family went. They have 2 boys who are very much into soccer, and while we were there, he was able to hook up with some of the people that he knows who are heavily involved in soccer and helping kids. Obviously, in Europe and everywhere else except the U.S., soccer is a huge sport. So they were there to hook up with some of the people that he knows, get his boys help in training, doing some soccer camps. And this kind of leads into the Vacation Bible Camp, where besides just sponsoring children, which some of the, there's people in Twinsburg and the surrounding area that are actually sponsoring children in these homes, is to try to give them some vocational training, introduce some more skills in their lives, and soccer is one of those. So briefly, if you look at the just the handout, we had a tremendous time. Again, we had about 200 children. Many of these have never left their environs of their homes. We had some of the homes have 10 children, 20, 30. We brought them all together for the first time right outside Nairobi, and they had a fantastic time. They really got some great instruction, some great fun time together. It was a great melding of even some different tribal cultures within Kenya. And as you can see, we had a packing party. One of our offices is down at Compass Computer here. We had a packing party one night, and everybody loaded up suitcases. We had about 15 suitcases that weighed 48.5 pounds apiece. And we're allowed 50, so we were stretching it. And also for the team, we actually did a little bit of a safari at the end. We can't go to Africa without going safari, so we did have a great time with that. I'd like to have my wife come up and just talk briefly about the significance of holding a VBC in Africa with an American team.
Thank you very much. Being part of the team that went to Kenya, for me was it was so good to be able to bring a team there and to help them to see what they have seen on the television or what they have had sometimes, which sometimes can be blown out of proportion. But it was so good for the children there to experience. We had two young boys with us, children of the pastor, and they were very much involved in the soccer side of it. And it was good for them to relate to children from another country, and even like to parents from another country. By the time we left on the last night, the children were just, it was amazing. And I think Pastor Bob has coined it the night of 200 hugs. I'm sorry if I took that maybe you wanted to share about that. But one thing that the feeling that I got was that we can do so much when we are united. We have so much more in common as humanity than what we don't have in common. And that's one thing that we realized taking the team and being received by them. And they were so happy with all the things that we managed to collect. And it wasn't just adults who were given. One of the most touching gifts for me as we were preparing to go is one mother came with her little 4-year-old child and said, she said that she has something she wants to give you towards your going. And I said, what is it? And she had this small Ziploc bag where she had her, I don't know if it was a week's or a month's saving, which came back to $1.25 or something. And she says, I want to give you this towards your trip. I treasure that so much. I didn't use it because it reminded me that every single thing we do counts. And what we give there, it always comes back. So I say thank you to Twinsburg that has embraced us. Yeah.
And I just wanted to be here to, more than anything, to just, on behalf of Destiny Church and also as a resident of Twinsburg Township, just say thank you to the Board of Education. Your partnership with Destiny Church, coming up on 13 years now, with us meeting at Chamberlain Middle School, has been fantastic. The staff at Chamberlain is wonderful to us. Bob, the custodian over there, is just, he's a gem. He's a real champion for us, and just gratitude. Destiny Church's existence in large part is due to your generosity in the space and allowing us to use it. And I want to let you know that as a church, we're grateful. And this trip that we took most likely wouldn't have been possible in the first place if Destiny hadn't been allowed to start meeting at Chamberlain nearly 13 years ago. So just wanted to thank you. And this is actually an autographed soccer ball. It's not autographed by famous soccer players. It's autographed by some of the boys from the homes. And this is just examples of things we were able to give the kids. Dick's Sporting Goods generously donated a lot of soccer balls, and we took them to the kids in some of those 15 suitcases, at least the ones that got there. That's another story. But seriously, just thank you. We are really grateful for the Twinsburg Board of Education and your role in the life of Destiny Church.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I wanted to comment about that because I heard about this through a couple of the teachers. And you mentioned Bob Marquardt, our RBC custodian. I guess he had a big part in helping arrange with Dick's to have a bunch of soccer balls and bags and equipment donated to this program, and that's, I believe, is his soccer ball that the kids signed as a thank you. So when I was thinking about this, I was just thinking about how many of our employees do spend time outside of school on their own time during breaks in the summer, whether it's missions work or things like this. And it's just really inspiring to hear some of these stories about our employees behind the scenes, not even how much they're helping our kids in the schools, but even outside of our school. So.
Thank you.
I saw Bob when we were at the custodian last Sunday and kind of say hi. He's very, very generous and a very kind man. And all of a sudden I got the email from Calvin about coming here, and it's like, that sneaky guy. I didn't realize he told anybody. But it was such a success, we felt, that we're really looking to make this at least an annual event. And we really wanted to not just keep it within Destiny, but I have extra flyers if anybody would like to come look at these. Mrs. Davis has my contact information. I'm free to give that out. If you're interested in either supporting in any way or even going, we would love to talk to you. And this has just been we gave one of the homes just a huge bag, soccer balls. We had pumps, shoes, shirts, something that we would take for granted they would never have a chance of getting on their own. And it's just so appreciated, so appreciated. So thank you very much for the time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, seeing no other cards, we're going to move on to the business of schools. We're at Section H, Treasurer's Reports and Recommendations. Without objection from my colleagues, I'm going to read H1 through 4 together. H1, resolved that the Twinsburg Board of Education approves the following meeting minutes: regular meeting of August 17, 2016, work session August 31st, 2016, as sent to the board under separate cover. H2, resolved that the Twinsburg Board of Education accepts the following financial reports for the month of July 2016: bank reconciliation, general fund financial summary report, and financial report by fund, as sent to the board under separate cover. H3, resolved that the Twinsburg Board of Education accepts the check register for the month of July 2016. The total, including payroll, is $3,882,797.85. And H4, whereas the Ohio Revised Code Chapter 135 requires the district to designate public depositories, the school district monies every 5 years, and the current 5-year designation period ends August 22nd, 2016. The Twinsburg Board of Education authorizes the school district treasurer to take all steps necessary to designate public depositories of school district's active, interim, and inactive accounts, with banking institutions maintaining at least one office in the state of Ohio. Star Ohio Program Certificate of Deposit Account Registry Service, and the Meter Investment Management, Inc., provided that such deposits are invested in accounts and securities authorized by Chapter 135 of the Ohio Revised Code, and estimating the aggregate amount of inactive deposits of $5 million for the period August 23rd, 2016 through August 22nd, 2021. 2, yes, very good. And the banks that are so listed there. I'll take a motion for those 4 as read.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Slura. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Davis. Anything to explain? The depository comes up once a year. I know that's...
Yeah, every 5 years. It's almost kind of like Mr. Bendis with his requirements.
Right.
This is also an Ohio revised requirement. There's a lot of restrictions on what school districts can invest in. It has to be a very safe kind of investment. In the banks, it has to be collateralized. Some years ago there were some investments in derivatives and those kind of things. Well, we can't do that. So we have to make sure that the money's going to be there. We can't chase, interest rates. So we have to worry more about safety. We do this every 5 years. The banks listed here are the banks in the area that offered to send us a depository contract. What they do in that is it's also they sign our investment policy. So part of the policy is we have what some of the standards are. That of course is a lot of that is from Ohio Revised Code. So the bank will sign off on those. They send that back with their depository agreement, and then basically they're agreeing to follow our investment policy and revised code, and then they also collateralize any deposits that we have. So,
other questions? Thank you for that very good detailed explanation, and of course the ever watchful eye of the district. Roll call, please.
Mr. Solera?
Yes.
Mrs. Davis?
Yes.
Mrs. Terrell-Waldron?
Yes.
Mr. Curtis?
Yes.
Mr. Felber?
Yes. And those items pass 5-0. On to Section I, again without objection. I'm going to read all 3 together. Resolved that the Twinsburg Board of Education accepts the certificated, licensed personnel and/or contract recommendations detailed in the attached Exhibit I-1 as per the dates, terms, and other applicable conditions specified pending satisfactory ORC background checks. I-2, resolved that the Twinsburg Board of Education accepts the classified personnel and/or contract recommendations detailed in the attached Exhibit I-2 per the dates, terms, and other applicable conditions specified satisfactory ORC background checks. And finally, resolved that the Twinsburg Board of Education accepts the supplemental contract recommendations detailed in the attached Exhibit I-3 as per the dates, terms, and other applicable conditions specified pending satisfactory ORC background checks. Is there a motion for those 3 as read?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Curtis. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Davis. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Curtis?
Yes.
Mrs. Davis?
Yes.
Mr. Solera?
Yes.
Mrs. Terrell-Waldron?
Yes.
Mr. Felber?
Yes. And those 3 items pass 5-0. I will then now read what is going to be, I think, all 14. In the next section, under action items, new business. Let's see, what do we have? J, resolved that the Twinsburg Board of Education approves the following administrators as credentialed evaluators for the purpose of the Ohio Principal Evaluation System and or the Ohio Teacher Evaluation System as listed in your agenda. J2, resolved that the Twinsburg Board of Education approves a release of transportation for one student for the 2016-2017 school year to the Twinsburg City School District for the following school districts, and is listed in Nordonia Hills District. J3, resolved that the Twinsburg Board of Education approves a release of transportation for 4 students for the 2016-2017 school year from the Twinsburg City School District to the following districts. There was 3 in Solon and 1 in Kinston. J4, resolved that the Twinsburg Board of Education accepted a donation of a piano and music books for Wilcox Primary School valued at $3,200 from Judith Scheel of Twinsburg per the attached exhibit J4. J5, resolved that the Twinsburg Board of Education accept a donation of services valued at $260 from Everace of Ivyland, PA to cover and repair the surface of a damaged dry erase board per the attached exhibit J5. J6, resolved that the Twinsburg Board of Education accepts a donation in the amount of $500 from Fuchs Lubricants of Harvey, Illinois, for school supplies for students in need at Wilcox Primary, and that's J6. J7, resolved that the Twinsburg Board of Education approves the first reading of the following new board policy, and that's 3223, standard-based school counselor evaluations. That's item J7. J8, resolved that the Twinsburg Board of Education approves the following police officers and rates based on start time for security at events for the 2016-2017 school year, and permit the superintendent to employ additional personnel as needed, and the start times, rates, and names are listed there. J9, resolved that the Twinsburg Board of Education approves a proposal for an overnight extended trip for the 8th grade students at R.B. Chamberlain Middle School to travel to Washington, D.C., leaving May 24, 2017, and returning May 26, 2017. The cost of this trip is being paid in full by the students and sent to the board under separate cover. J10, resolved that the Twinsburg Board of Education approves a contract with Therapy in Motion, LLC services for the 2016-2017 school year to provide physical therapy services for students at a rate of $90 per hour as sent to the board under separate cover. This is a general fund expense. J11, resolved that the Twinsburg Board of Education approves a contract with Education Alternatives for 3 students for the 2016-2017 school year in the amount of $73,710.00, a credit of $33,070 from the 2015-2016 school year will be applied, making the total tuition $40,640.00. That was also sent to the board under separate cover. This is also a general fund expense. And J12, resolved that the Twinsburg Board of Education approves the agreement with the Educational Service Center of Cuyahoga County for a teacher of visually impaired for up to 75 hours at a rate of $91.50 per hour, and an audiologist for up to 30 hours at a rate of $89.84 per hour. As sent to the board under separate cover, this is a general fund expense. J13, resolved that the Twinsburg Board of Education approves the agreement with Solution Behavioral Consulting for the 2016-2017 school year to provide consultation services at $150 per hour and tutoring services at a rate of $45 per hour for children identified with special needs. This is a V1, B as in boy expense. And finally, J14, resolved that the Twinsburg Board of Education approves the district goals for 2016-2017 school year per the attached exhibit J14. Is there a motion for those 14 as read?
So moved.
Moved by Mrs. Davis. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Solera. All right, rewind, catch my breath. First of all, thank you for the donations to all those parties. That's fantastic. Sometimes there are questions, J2, J3, Mrs. Powers, on release of transportation. That happens from time to time. I don't know if you want to quick comment.
What typically happens in these kinds of resolutions on the board agenda is that we have children who have child care in our neighboring districts and are potentially going off to Hawthorne or Laurel or Notre Dame And so we release the kids so that these districts can then transport them and claim them on their report. This is typically done at the fall of each school year.
Thank you. And I'm going to let you keep the mic because we have a first reading. The policy committee met and just reviewed one policy that was fairly timely, 3223. If you want to comment, it is primarily legal and housekeeping and a lot of verbiage.
Yes, this is actually a placeholder policy that is required by statute. The Ohio Department of Education and the state legislators have now crafted a new school counselor evaluation system. OSES, as it's becoming to be called in schools in Ohio. By September 30th of this school year, every Board of Education needs to pass their OSES policy. But it's an interesting thing because the way the statute is written is if there is current language that has been bargained with the union, and in our case we do have it with our teachers, Twinsburg Education Association, the current language stays in play until the point at which that contract expires and we renegotiate the terms of that contract. So Mrs. Suter-Riley is aware of the fact that this is a requirement under statute. The policy that is in first reading has actually been aligned to the current OTES language, but I do know that when the Board of Education renegotiates with the teachers union, goodness knows between now and then, the evaluation systems potentially may change under ESSA and a whole lot of other things. So this is a placeholder policy. We will continue to evaluate our school counselors as has been bargained by the union and the Board of Education, and we'll revisit this policy once the contract is renegotiated, I believe in 2018.
Thank you. Very well said. I can't add anything on it. If you want to add anything, that was the gist of our policy meeting. Any further comments on any of the items that were read?
If I could just comment, Board of Education, on the donation from Mrs. Scheel. About 3 weeks ago, Mrs. Scheel called me at the board office, and she's a resident of the school district. Her husband, in 1997, had purchased this piano for her. And she no longer is able to play it, and she was, I think, moving to another place. And she thought of the school district and thought, boy, I would surely like to be able to donate this to the schools and to be used with the children. And so thankfully, Scott Asti, who is our assistant principal over at Wilcox, is a very talented musician. In fact, he was a music educator for Hudson Schools before we stole him here as an administrator. And he visited Mrs. Scheel, and sure enough, this piano is absolutely beautiful. It's a gorgeous piece of furniture, and it is going to have lots and lots of use at Wilcox Primary School. So we just want to thank Mrs. Scheel for reaching out to the school district. She had a wonderful piece of property that she wanted to donate to the district, and it all worked out for us, and it's now at Wilcox being used by our music department.
Thank you. Any further comments? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Davis?
Yes.
Mr. Solera?
Yes.
Mrs. Turl-Waldron?
Yes.
Mr. Curtis?
Yes.
Mr. Felber?
Yes. And those 14 items pass 5-0. We're now at miscellaneous. Are any comments from my colleagues?
Yes. I'd like to provide an update on my activities with working with our representative, Christina Rogner. If you can remember, or at least I'll remind the public, that a couple of meetings ago I had made an announcement that I was working with Christina Rogner on a piece of legislation that was designed to seek funds to come back to district coffers as opposed to those monies being returned to the general fund if they were subject to an audit by way of either the Auditor of State or the Ohio Department of Education. Subsequent to that, we've had a number of conversations and conference calls and meetings and so forth, and we have a bill. It is House Bill 594, and for your ability to review it, all of my board members, they have copies in front of them, as well as the superintendent and treasurer. Specifically, the bill was delivered to the clerk's office last week, so I'm told that it is official. It is a bill, and I'm also told that we have bipartisan support and a list of co-sponsors attached to the bill. The reason that it took so long is because Representative Rogner wanted to hold open the window for a little longer time to enlist enough people from both sides of the aisle to provide support. So we've been able to do that, and if you have a copy of the bill that's in front of you, you can also retrieve it as well. But it lists all of the sponsors of the bill, and I'm actually very pleased the extent to which we were able to enlist enough support for the bill. So at this point, we have co-sponsors. It will we'll have to wait until the House reconvenes after November elections, at which point it will be read and referred to a committee, and then we start. That being said, and Superintendent Powers, you are well aware of the process. The bill is a page and a half. It is my hope and goal for it to stay that way. But as we know, when bills go to committee, our representatives like to do things and attach things on to bills that have wide support in order to kind of try and slip things in that maybe aren't so favorable. So I'm well aware of that, and I'm staying in my lane. I'm a school board member, and I'll leave that work to our representatives down in Columbus. But what I will ask is, now that we have a number to the bill, I'm enlisting the public to make calls in support of the bill. If you or anyone that you know knows people that serve on other school boards around the region, enlist them to do the same. I will continue to do as much as I can on my behalf in making sure that we garner as much support as possible. I have reached out to the Ohio School Boards Association, and they support this initiative. They've also sent it out as an alert to all school board members throughout Ohio. I'll continue pushing this, and at the earliest possible moment after November, I hope to come before you with some good news with respect to the progress of the bill. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Curtis. For those listening or watching at home, can you reference the bill number?
The bill number is House Bill number 594.
Thank you, and I appreciate your efforts, as I'm sure many districts are patiently waiting to see that legislation and not sing the "I'm Just a Bill" song, which I can't get out of my head. Anything else miscellaneous tonight? All right. The board does have need for executive session, and I will make the motion the board enters into executive session at 9 p.m. to review negotiations with public employees per Board of Education Policy 0160E and to investigate charges or complaints against a public official per Board of Education Policy 0166B. I've made that motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Curtis. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Felber?
Yes.
Mr. Curtis?
Yes.
Mr. Solera?
Yes.
Mrs. Davis?
Yes.
Mrs. Terrell Waldron?
Yes.
And the board is now in executive session. There is a possibility when the board reconvenes that there will be additional action. Thank you. Is now reconvening from executive session. Call the roll, please, Mr. Hale.
Mr. Felber?
Here.
Mr. Solera?
Here.
Mrs. Davis?
Here.
Mrs. Terrell Waldron?
Here.
Mr. Curtis?
Here. Everybody is now present. As stated in the agenda for this meeting, the Board of Education adjourned to executive session to consider the investigation of charges or complaints against a public employee, official, licensee, or regulated individual in accordance with the Ohio Revised Code, Section 121.22 G1. Specifically, the Board of Education discussed the investigation into allegations concerning whether an elected official violated Board Policy 0123, Code of Ethics, Code of Conduct. Board Policy 0123 includes the Code of Ethics recommended by the Ohio School Board Association and the Code of Conduct promulgated by the National School Boards Association. Each board member is required to abide by and conform his or her conduct to the Board Policy 0123, including but limited to Section O, which states in relevant part that while serving as a board member Member of the Board of Education. Each member is expected to agree to abide by the following code of ethics promulgated by the Ohio School Board Association. Subsection O, refrain from using my board position for benefit of myself, family members, or business associates. As part of this investigation, information was gathered and reviewed, and the public official was provided with opportunity to respond to allegations, both orally and in writing. After considering the information gathered during the investigation, including information from the public official alleged to have violated Board Policy 0123, the Board reached consensus that the Board Policy was violated. However, RC 121.22 requires the Board to discuss the issue of potential discipline in the public session that we are now in. To that end, now that the Board of Education has concluded its investigation, I would like to open the floor for discussion concerning the potential discipline of an elected official. From a procedural standpoint, the Board should determine what, if any, action should be taken against a public official concerning any violation of the Code of Ethics, Code of Conduct. Specifically, the Board should decide whether it wants to pass a resolution of censure concerning the public official's alleged conduct, or pass a resolution authorizing the issuance of a letter of reprimand to the public official, or issue a reminder to board members that they are required to abide by Board Policy 0123, Code of Ethics, Code of Conduct at all times, or to take any other action. I'm now opening the floor for discussion regarding the type of disciplinary action that should be issued to the public official.
Can we get an explanation on the different options as
sure, I can
as to what a resolution to censure entails? Sure. What a resolution to
is it appropriate to have legal counsel address the definitions?
Yes.
If you want to do it on, I don't know if it matters on that microphone or not. I see there's options.
With respect to the resolution of censure, essentially a resolution of censure will be passed to remind the board member of his or her obligation to comply with the Code of Ethics and to ensure that the individual conforms his or her conduct in an appropriate manner in the future. And a censure is essentially some type of disciplinary action saying, you know, we're prohibiting you from engaging in this type of behavior in the future. We believe you violated the board policy, and we're directing you not to engage in this type of behavior in the future. Resolution of reprimand is essentially you will pass a resolution reprimanding the individual, and he or she will be issued an actual letter of reprimand following the board meeting regarding his or her behavior and reminded not to engage in that type of behavior again. And as far as the other option, it would be a general reminder to the Board of Education as a legal entity to ensure that all board members understand their obligation to comply with board policy. And again, there are other options available should you wish to discuss any additional options. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Massey. Discussion on the options presented?
It is my opinion that I think a general reminder of appropriate board behavior to the entire board is, in my opinion, appropriate action for the discussion at hand or for the issue at hand.
And I would agree that just a general, what Tina said, a general statement to the board would be an appropriate action.
Based on the information that's been collected throughout this investigation, I do believe that there was a violation of board policy. However, I do believe that it's important that we as board members be reminded of what our obligation is as public officials and board members specifically, and I am in support of making sure that we adhere to our board policy and be reminded of that.
Further discussion? Discussion about censure versus a letter versus Tina's comment about a general reminder. Anybody have a different opinion?
I would agree. To Mark and Tina's and Kathy's point, that a reminder, explaining the policy that we need to abide by, our roles, and what we're doing here in the district, and how we need to conduct ourselves would be suffice.
So what I'm hearing from the board is a general reminder to all board members only, and no resolution of censure, no letter, no other option, no further resolution, and so forth.
I believe so.
Okay, at this point, now that we have discussed the issue of discipline, I will accept a motion concerning the issue of what type of disciplinary action, if any, should be taken. As mentioned previously, we just talked about pass a resolution of censure, pass a resolution authorizing the issue of a letter of reprimand, or issuing a reminder to board members, and if someone would make a motion to one specific or the other.
I'll make a motion that we do a general reminder of what our responsibilities are as board members and adhering to board policy 01234. Or
0123. Yeah. There's been a motion to issue a reminder to board members that they are required to abide by board policy 0123, Code of Ethics, Code of Conduct at all times, by Mark Curtis. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mrs. Davis. 1 second. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Curtis?
Yes.
Mrs. Davis?
Yes.
Mr. Solera?
Yes.
Mrs. Terrell-Waldron?
Yes.
Mr. Felber?
Yes. That motion passes 5-0 and will be entered in the record. I don't believe there's any further business before the board. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So, go ahead.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Terrell-Waldron. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Curtis. Is there any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Terrell-Waldron?
Yes.
Mr. Curtis?
Yes.
Mr. Solera?
Yes.
Mrs. Davis?
Yes.
Mr. Felber?
Yes. The board is now adjourned at 11:24. Thank you.